What is up, everybody? Today we're going to be comparing two wireless controllers available on Amazon. One is the JYSW controller and the other one is a controller from Beboncool. We're also going to be comparing their design, build quality, and everything they have to offer. Let's get into it. Alright, so starting off with the Beboncool, as you can see here, the ABX Y buttons are pretty clicky, they work pretty well. However, there is a pretty big gap in the middle of them, which I don't really like. They're blue though, which matches the look of the controller, and they're pretty good overall. The sticks are one area where I definitely prefer the Joytorn. They're pretty flat, and while they do have a nice grip on them, as you can see here, they're not indented, so you don't have a place to rest your fingers. And as you'll see in the walkthrough of the Joytorn controller, the Joytorn does have the indentation for your thumbs, which is definitely a plus for me. And when you click down on the sticks, they feel a little bit cheap, but they're okay overall. Next up is the D-pad, and as mentioned earlier in my other video on this controller, isn't really a D-pad, just 4 buttons that are shaped to look like a D-pad, which actually works in this case because it won't allow you to press one side that you don't mean to press. In the center of the controller has home, plus, and minus buttons, whereas on the Joytorn controller it has a screenshot and turbo button. So there isn't any turbo button in this controller, and to take a screenshot all you have to do is press the minus and plus buttons at the same time. The controller's shoulder buttons are pretty clicky and they feel pretty nice overall. The left and right trigger buttons of this controller are pretty small and they're pretty similar to the shoulder buttons, which isn't a good thing in my opinion because I want to have some differential. Moving on to the Joytorn controller, its ABXY buttons are just white, while the Beboncool's ABXY buttons are blue. This is a minor difference, but the ABXY buttons themselves are pretty clicky and they're pretty nice overall, and they work as you would expect. As mentioned earlier, the Joytorn controller has a little indent for better grip on your thumbs, which is a nice thing. The sticks themselves are orange and blue, which matches the look of the controller. Unlike the Beboncool controller, the Joytorn controller has a normal D-pad, however it isn't too good. It's pretty easy to accidentally press one side of the D-pad that you don't mean to press, which isn't a good thing. I'd say it's acceptable though, because as long as you're not playing games where you need to use it a lot, it's okay. In the center of the controller, the Joytorn controller has the home button, plus, minus, turbo, and screenshot button. This is definitely more than the Beboncool controller, which only has the home and plus and minus buttons. The turbo button allows you to press any button rapidly without actually pressing it. The buttons are clicky and they work as you would expect. The shoulder buttons of this controller are very similar to the Beboncool's, they're clicky and they work pretty well. I definitely don't have any problems with them, however they aren't that amazing either. The left and right trigger buttons of this controller are more traditional, whereas the Beboncool left and right trigger buttons are a little small. I definitely like this design more because they have more surface area to put your fingers on. It's also easier to tell which button is a shoulder button and which one is a trigger button. When it comes to the chargers that these controllers use, the Beboncool does not use Type-C, it actually uses micro USB. This is definitely not a good thing to see, especially in 2020. Unlike the Beboncool controller, the Joytorn controller does have Type-C, which is nice to see. Moving on to build quality and ergonomics, the Joytorn controller fits in your hands nicely with a nice grip at the bottom. The grip is made out of a rubberized material and it feels pretty nice. Your hands definitely won't be slipping while using the controller. When it comes to the controller's durability, it's also really nice. It seems to be made out of a pretty high quality plastic, similar to that of the Xbox One controller. So I'd give this controller an A+ when it comes to build quality and ergonomics. When it comes to the Beboncool controller's build quality and ergonomics, it also has some grip on the sides, however it isn't made out of rubber. It's more of a textured plastic, which is really nice, but it doesn't provide the same type of grip as a Joytorn controller. Just like the buttons and the sticks on this controller, the grips on the sides are also blue. When it comes to the build quality of this controller, it's also really nice, it's very solid. And compared to the Joytorn controller, the Beboncool controller is made out of more of a grippy durable plastic, whereas the Joytorn controller is made out of more of a smooth, high quality plastic. Connection-wise, neither of the controllers can connect to the switch by turning the controller on, as shown here. So of course with both controllers you have to turn on the switch first, and then turn on the controller, then the connection will be successful. Battery life on both controllers is definitely not an issue. The Joytorn controller has a 6-hour advertised battery life with a 500 mAh battery. What's interesting is that the Beboncool controller has a 400 mAh battery with a 12-hour advertised battery life. So I definitely think that the battery life on the Beboncool controller is a little bit exaggerated. I say the battery life is pretty similar on both controllers and they should last you pretty long. So when it comes to the Joytorn's gaming experience, it has a really nice grip, really good build quality and battery life, and an overall pretty nice experience. On the Beboncool side of things, the battery life is really good, the build quality and durability is really good, however the grip on the sticks isn't as good, but overall the gaming experience on that one is also pretty good as well. Both controllers have gyro capabilities and they're both pretty good as you can see here. Here's a look at the vibration quality on both controllers. So as you can see, the Beboncool controller had an okay vibration, but it wasn't as good as the more rumbly vibration on the Joytorn controller. So before we get into the overall better controller of the two, let's take a look at the pros and cons of the Joytorn controller. So the pros of this controller are the good build quality and very smooth, durable plastic, as well as the controller's very grippy sticks and its nice, colorful overall design. Its cons are its so-so D-pad and subpar 6-hour battery life even though it has a 500 mAh battery. When it comes to the Beboncool controller, its pros are that it has a nice design, good durability, really good battery life, and an overall good experience. Its cons are that it doesn't have a real D-pad, and it's missing the screenshot and turbo buttons. A separate con for this controller is that it has the PS4 controller layout, which I don't really like, but maybe not everybody doesn't like it, so that's not really a con for everybody. So if you came here to find out which controller is better, here you go. It comes down to personal preference. And what I mean by that is that there isn't really any one answer. So if you want a PS4 style Switch controller that has really good durability and you feel like you could toss it anywhere, get the Beboncool. And if you want a more Xbox style Switch controller with a nice design and good grip, get the Joytorn. So that's about it. This is Tech All Day, and I'll see you in the next one.